Hi, this is Jen Page, online teacher for social studies at Mason Middle School in Mason, Ohio. I wanted to take a moment and kind of walk you through the steps of a lesson that I found just super simple, but so positive for my students in building a collaborative atmosphere online. And I do want to give credit. So take a look in the Twitter post about where I found this idea and the wonderful teachers on Twitter in my personal learning network, professional learning network on there that really helped create this material. So the idea is that this is built to launch in a PearDeck, but it can work in a variety of other ways. You don't have to have anything special in your PearDeck. I often kind of start class with like a quick question on what lesson have you completed so far, so I know right where my kids are, have they covered the topic in their asynchronous work that they need before we hop into the activity for today. And my activity for today, that was the first time I've ever done it, that was hexagonal thinking. And I like to often work in PearDeck because it is so good at letting me see what my students are doing, even when they can't turn their cameras on or don't turn their cameras on. But one of my big gaps in PearDeck is that collaborative experience for students. And I was asking on Twitter ideas for how do I use the web tool. And when I talk about the web tool, I'm talking about this item right here, if you see my cursor, when you can put a kid into an interactive experience into the right of their slides. And I'll show you what this looks like for the student as well. So for example, I found a teacher, again, check the Twitter post, who had shared out a wonderful template for showing kids and doing hexagonal thinking in a Google Slides, and then putting out those Google Slides as editable by all of your students, and then having kids work in breakout rooms in Zoom to record their thinking and their connections in this activity. And so what I did is I took the sample slide for that activity and I put it in my PearDeck. And so this is just where I'm kind of teaching kids this is how hexagonal thinking works, okay? And we're going to think about making connections on the flat sides. And if something touches another hexagon, then it's going to need to have a connection to that topic. And so we're building connections more in this honeycomb rather than in a linear cause and effect chain. And so we walked through this as a class. And then you can notice down here, this bottom little bar, which I often turn transparent, but right now I left it up, means that when my students view this, sorry, it took them over to a view of this item here to the hexagonal thinking Google Doc. Okay, so here is what the projector view would look like for the teacher. And I know that I've got this web tool off to the side. And I'm going to close my window here so this is easier to see. And then you always have your teacher dashboard that you pull up here, and then you can see which students are on your slide. This is one of my cool things that I love about PearDeck. I don't have any questions to respond to here. I simply wanted PearDeck to be the avenue that my students were used to, getting them directly into this file really seamlessly. And so then what this looks like on the student side is when they click my link to join the PearDeck. And I have this in instructor paste at this moment because I then can lock their screens on it. But the kids' view would be the slide that I'm presenting and then their access, because I've made this an editable link to their PearDeck. So the nice thing is if they have a pretty big screen, they're able to not even leave the PearDeck and do all the editing that they need here. And if they want to, they can also open that item in a separate window to get that bigger as well. But so you can start to see here that this is a pretty neat workflow. You get your kids right where they need to, and then you're going to open your breakout rooms. You're going to say, okay, go directly to that slide that is labeled for your breakout room. And you're going to notice also that when they come in here blank, that they have these template built in with the hexagons already. So let's then think through how this went and why it was, I think, such a success. Because when I'm monitoring this as the teacher, I can monitor it in my PearDeck. And I can also monitor in my slides. A great example is using the grid view. And when you have kids in breakout rooms, you feel sometimes really disconnected to them. You can't even send a private chat. And if you hop into somebody's breakout room, then you're not responsive to someone else who's trying to like get back into your Zoom if they've left. So what I really liked about this is I could insert a comment on a slide right here and say, hey guys, I think let's transition into working on our connection text boxes. And then they could see that right away and respond. And so they were getting more interaction with me when they were in their breakout rooms. And it also was great at giving me a little bit of an eagle eye in here to what they were doing. So I want to walk you through like how I wrapped my head around getting this edit link in there. And a lot of people online were saying, make it editable by anyone. And I really didn't want that experience. So what I had chose to do was I have Google contact groups built for all of my classes. So then what that means is when I go into share, I don't have to type in all the separate students. I can just type in sixth period and then give them viewing or editing access. And so what I did is I have 3 classes, boom, 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 right in a row. And I started by giving fourth period editing access. And then while they were in class, they had editing access. They were working on this. And then I was having them grab a screenshot at the end, but I didn't want to make a separate file in order to like still launch this from a single PearDeck. So I got the idea from another wonderful teacher on Twitter that you can just create named versions in your editing history. And so I'm going to show you that real quick. But here, this is just my idea that I added editors from fourth period, and then at the end of fourth period, I took them right back off. And then I made a copy. So for example, here I haven't done this yet. This is my sixth period's work, and I haven't taken them off of the main file. I haven't restored it yet. So what I wanted to do then to save their work, I'm going to make a copy of what they accomplished today, and I'm going to name that file as sixth period 126 seventh grade hexagonal thinking. Okay, now that's my personal copy. It's not editable by anybody right now because I don't want kids coming back in here. I wanted to get a picture of what did they do in class. And I can now share this visual to them so they can still come back and look at it. But at the same time, I'll be able to wipe clean my main template. So here I'm going to come to share when my computer comes to life. And give me a second. The joy of lots of tabs open after. Okay, well, anyway, I'll share it to that class. And here, what I would do now is I'm going to go to my edit history. And I had never done this before. I am well schooled at using the editing history, but I've never named versions. And the teacher who gave this idea to me, I just want to hug because I'm going to go here and I'm going to name this version because this is sixth period 126. This is what they did that day. And I've named it. And now I can come back here to my master copy, which I also named, and I'm going to restore that version. And I'm back clean. And so if I want to launch this again for a fully different lesson, I don't have to make new files. I don't have to bog down my Google Drive. And if I ever want to go back in here and I want to see what kids did on that day, I've got sixth period and that I can come take a look at. I've got fourth period, I've got fifth, and I just have always made separate copies of files for my different bells. And now I'm like, oh, I don't have to do that. So like I said here, I've got to share this file to my sixth period in view copy. And now I'm back to a fresh, clean slate for my next classes. And my students in Zoom for the first time, when I put them in breakout rooms, actually did work together. And I got a picture of that. I felt comfortable in that I could see what they were doing. And it wasn't just me twiddling my thumbs in the main session while other students may or may not be engaging in the breakout rooms. My other struggle is when I put kids in breakout rooms, yet only kept them in PearDeck. It really encouraged some kids to just work independently to get their slide done. And some kids wanted to talk and some kids didn't, but I didn't have a gauge for how well they were collaborating together. And then lastly, I would say that's kind of cool if you don't have kids open a separate window when they are in your presentation session here, and I choose to, as the teacher, lock the screen. The student view here is, the teacher locked the screen. If I want to take them right out of those Google Slides and pop them into my next activity, which we didn't get to today, but I wanted to take them right here, then I would know that, okay, they're out of the one and they're over here. And we know that transitions are sometimes tricky even in the classroom, but online, I love that feature. So I hope this is a helpful kind of talk through. It's not any professional video by any means, but I really enjoyed the lesson today, and I think it could work for any content and be helpful both in the building, hybrid, and or fully online. Thanks.